For context, my childhood was like something out of a nightmare. When I was 8, my mom brought Otis into our lives, and everything shifted in an instant. She wasn't exactly a stellar parent before, but with Otis, she transformed into someone unrecognizable. He was domineering and volatile, with a temper that could erupt without warning. And she didn't just tolerate it, she enabled it. Worse, she joined in. I was expected to fade into the background, unseen and unheard. If I dared make a sound while Otis was unwinding with a drink, both of them would yell at me until I shrank into myself. If I didn't clean something precisely to Otis's standards, my mom would berate me, calling me useless, a burden, a regret. She'd say her life would have been better without me, that I'd wrecked everything. The physical abuse started subtly, a slap, a rough grab, but by 10, Otis was regularly lashing me with his belt while my mom sat in the next room, engrossed in her TV shows, pretending nothing was happening. If I cried afterward, she'd tell me to stop exaggerating, and that I'd brought it on myself by upsetting him. When I was 12, I accidentally spilled juice on the rug. Otis went ballistic, slamming me against the wall so hard I couldn't catch my breath. I looked to my mom, silently pleading for help, but she just said, "Now you've got 2 messes to fix," and walked off. That night, I locked myself in the bathroom, icing my bruises. School was my only refuge. Teachers occasionally noticed marks and asked questions, but fear kept me silent. By 14, I started crashing at friends' houses whenever I could. My friend Lisa's mom would give me this sad, knowing look, but never pressed me to open up. At 16, Otis fractured my wrist. I told the ER doctor I'd fallen off my bike, and my mom stood there, nodding along, her grip on my shoulder in the car, a clear warning to stay quiet. That night, I overheard them arguing about the hospital costs for that ungrateful kid. That's when I started plotting my escape. I got a job at a local cafe, stashing every cent in a secret bank account. On my 16th birthday, my mom briefly seemed almost human. She got me a cake, even hugged me. But later, drunk, she stumbled into my room and admitted she only kept me because it was too late for an abortion, calling me her life's greatest mistake. When I graduated high school at 17, I was biding my time. A few months later, when they were lost in a days-long drinking spree, I packed what I could and fled to Brenda's, a waitress at the cafe who'd become like family. She let me stay on her couch while I got my own place. My mom called once, 2 days later, accusing me of stealing her money. I hadn't. Then, silence for 5 years, nothing. I blocked her number, moved twice, rebuilt my life from scratch. 3 years ago, I met Ethan. He's the opposite of my past. Calm, kind, steady. When I shared my childhood with him, he held me, vowing no one would ever hurt me again. We weren't trying for a baby, but when I got pregnant last year, it felt like a chance to rewrite my story, to be the parent I never had. We're not married, but we're solid. His family embraced me. His mom hosted my baby shower last weekend. I was unwrapping gifts when the room went still. Everyone froze. I looked up, and there she was. My mother, standing in the doorway with a gift box. She looked older, frailer, but unmistakable. My hands turned to ice. I couldn't breathe. Only Ethan knew who she was, his face shifting from confusion to rage. His mom, sensing something was wrong, asked if I was okay. I couldn't speak. My mother stepped forward, tears streaming, saying my name. Ethan blocked her, telling her to leave. She ignored him, moving closer, saying she'd been searching for me, that Otis was gone, that she'd changed. I told her to go, that she had no place here, that she wasn't my mother or my baby's grandmother. She sobbed, claiming sobriety, therapy, a desire to make things right. Part of me wanted to unleash years of pain, to expose her cruelty to everyone. But a small fractured part wanted to believe her. Ethan's mom ushered guests out, giving us space. My mother took another step, reaching toward my belly. I backed away, knocking over a chair. She said she understood my hatred, but begged for a chance to make amends, claiming she was dying. I froze. Dying? Was this another manipulation? Before I could respond, Ethan's brother, Jake, demanded to know who she was. I opened my mouth, but my mother collapsed to her knees, clutching my hand, pleading. First update. I had to step away before writing this. I was too shaken. But I've never needed to vent more. If you read my first post, you know my past. Years of torment from my mom and Otis, my escape at 17, 5 years of peace, and then her crashing my baby shower like she belonged there. If you thought that was the end of the insanity, hold on, because it only got wilder. So there she was, kneeling in my mother-in-law's living room, gripping my hand, sobbing about dying. It felt unreal. How did she even find me? I'd changed my number, moved across town, erased myself from every searchable database, yet there she was, a louder, more persistent ghost than ever. My body was on fire, skin prickling, mouth dry, every instinct screaming to get away. I tried to pull free, but her grip was pure desperation. Ethan was there, his eyes darting between us, clearly unsure how to handle this. No one prepares you for your pregnant partner's abusive mom crashing a family event. My mother-in-law, bless her, cleared the room with polite urgency, sending guests to the kitchen for dessert. I was grateful. She spared me the weight of their stares. Jake, Ethan's brother, stood frozen, debating whether to intervene or call the police. My mother rambled, apologizing, claiming a year of sobriety, saying Otis was gone, but not clarifying if he was dead or just out of her life. She wanted back in mine, her eyes fixated on my belly, with a hunger that made me sick. Ethan stepped in, firmly telling her to leave, that she was upsetting me. She ignored him, tightening her grip. I snapped, yelling for her to let go, louder than intended. She collapsed into full-on sobbing, voice breaking, begging me to listen, saying she was sick, alone, needed me. I finally yanked my hand free and she toppled sideways. Jake stepped between us, asking if I wanted the police. I did. She needed to go. But a tiny, broken part of me wanted to hear her out, to know if this was real or just another act. So I said she could talk, but only if she sat on the couch and kept her hands off me. I don't know why I allowed it. Ethan sat beside me, squeezing my hand so tightly it hurt, but I needed that anchor. My mother perched on the couch, as if scared she'd be dragged away. She talked about leaving Otis, his imprisonment for some unrelated crime, her loneliness, her therapy, her cancer treatment. She begged to meet her grandchild, claiming it was her dying wish. I didn't believe her, not fully. She's always known how to spin a story, to play the victim. I stayed silent, jaw clenched as she rambled. Ethan's mom checked in, her face tight with worry. Jake paced the hall, muttering about throwing her out. My phone buzzed with texts from friends who'd left, asking if I was okay. My mother, sensing she was losing me, turned up the drama. She shouted that I was ungrateful, that she'd done her best, that being a single mom was hard, that Otis made her life hell, too. That's when I lost it. I stood, hands shaking, and let her have it. I yelled that her best was letting a man beat me for years, that she enabled it, joined in, made me feel worthless. I said she had no right to my forgiveness or my child. She tried to argue, but Ethan told her to leave. Jake started dialing, her face twisted with rage and pain, realizing she wouldn't win. She grabbed her purse, screaming I'd regret this, that I was just like her, that I'd never find peace. Then she lunged at me. Ethan blocked her, and she started hitting him with her purse, shrieking about her grandchild. My mother-in-law yelled that she was calling the police. My mother froze, then bolted. Jake locked the door, checking it twice. Ethan held me, but I couldn't relax, expecting her to return. My mother-in-law apologized, offering us a place to stay. I couldn't respond. I just stared at the overturned chair, the scattered gifts, the red mark on my wrist from her grip. Ethan and I left, leaving most gifts behind. The drive home was silent. I kept replaying it, questioning if I'd done the right thing. At home, I saw missed calls from unknown numbers, voicemails I couldn't bear to hear. I blocked them all, put my phone on silent. We sat on the couch, frozen. Around 10 p.m., a slow, deliberate knock at the door made my skin crawl. Ethan checked the peephole. It was her. I told him not to open it. She yelled through the door, apologizing, begging to talk, saying she was leaving town. Ethan told her to go, threatening police. She got frantic, promising to disappear after tonight. I shouted back that I didn't believe her, that I wanted her gone. Neighbors started peeking out, one yelling to quiet down. My mother snapped at them, escalating the chaos. Ethan called the non-emergency line. The dispatcher sent a patrol. My mother spun her sob story to the officers, but they told her to leave or face arrest. She left, cursing and crying. We locked everything, sat in silence, waiting for the next shoe to drop. The next morning, an envelope was under our door, her handwriting, my name. Inside, pages of apologies, accusations, stories about Otis, her illness, her longing to be a mom again. She said she'd be at the park near our place, hoping I'd come. I sat on my bed, torn. Part of me wanted to burn it and move on, but another part craved answers, or closure. I needed advice on making her stay gone. This was my life now. Second update. I'm back because you wanted an update, and I need to get this off my chest. So the morning after the chaos, I stared at her letter. Pages of apologies, guilt trips, and little heart sketches, as if that erased the past. She'd be at the park, she wrote, waiting. No threats, just this sad, clinging hope. I hadn't slept. Ethan barely had either. We debated endlessly, call the cops again, get a restraining order, or would she just leave? I was restless, curious what she'd say without a crowd. By noon, I couldn't sit still. I threw on a hoodie and sunglasses, told Ethan I'd be back in an hour. He wasn't happy, but didn't argue, just asked me to text every 10 minutes. I nodded, though I didn't mean it. I walked 4 blocks to the park, a rundown spot with a few benches, a creaky playground, and scraggly trees. She was there, hunched on a bench, clutching a tote bag, staring at the ground. I almost turned back, but something pulled me forward. She saw me and started crying. Not the dramatic sobs of my childhood, but real tears. She looked thinner, older, her hair sparse, but those eyes were the same. She launched into apologies before I sat down, saying she understood my anger, that she was in chemo, that Otis was in prison. I asked what gone meant. She said he was locked up, maybe forever, and she was alone. She talked about sobriety, therapy, losing everything, her home, her health, her friends. She wanted to know her grandchild, to make things right. I stayed quiet, hands buried in my sleeves, jaw tight. She kept going, but her tone shifted. She said I'd always been difficult, that I provoked Otis, that I never appreciated her sacrifices as a single mom. She blamed me for her struggles, saying I was stubborn, that things could have been different. I snapped. I told her that's why I left. She always made it about her. I was a kid, needing protection, not blame. She cried, saying she knew she failed, but she was dying and didn't want to be alone. She reached for my hand. I pulled back. She shoved an envelope into my bag. Medical records, she said, proof of her illness. She begged for a photo of me pregnant, to know she'd done something good. I refused. She asked for a hug. I said no. She lost it, yelling I was cruel, selfish, that I owed her as her daughter. I told her I owed her nothing. She lost that right years ago. She stood screaming that I was abandoning her, that I hated her, that she was sick and alone. People stared, parents, dog walkers, joggers. I walked away, her sobs fading behind me. Back home, Ethan was pacing. I told him everything, tossing the envelope on the table. He skimmed it. Doctor's notes, test results, appointment cards. It looked real, but we agreed it didn't change anything. Days later, I got texts from unknown numbers, apologies, then rants calling me cold, ungrateful. A neighbor saw a thin woman with a tote bag near our building. I started double-checking locks. Ethan pushed for a restraining order. I agreed, but hesitated, hoping she'd give up. Then, one night during dinner, the buzzer went wild. It was her, looking frantic on the camera. Ethan told her to leave. She kept pleading, then cursing. A neighbor shouted at her to go. She left. But another letter arrived the next day, angry, saying she'd never forgive me, that I'd regret it, that she'd see me again. Ethan insisted we file the restraining order. We went to the courthouse, filled out forms, and waited for a hearing date. That night, I got an Instagram DM from a blank account. Her apologizing, then begging to see her grandchild, saying she was leaving, but might return. I blocked everything. A week later, grocery bags in hand, I saw her outside my building. She ran up, pleading for a minute. I told her to leave or I'd call the police. She grabbed my arm, crying. A neighbor intervened, and she let go, saying she'd never give up. I called the police, reported it. Neighbors started acting weird, avoiding me. One, Sarah, said I should reconcile because family matters. I just nodded, too drained to argue. Ethan and I started bickering over small things, trash duty, misplaced socks. The hearing came. My mother sat silently across the room, telling the judge she just wanted contact, that she was dying. She admitted I'd told her to stay away. The judge granted a temporary restraining order. Afterwards, she tried to talk to me, saying she forgave me, that she'd pray for me. I walked away. Days later, another letter, short, saying she was hospitalized, with a room number, begging me to come. I'm torn. Part of me thinks it's a trap. Part of me wonders what she'd say. I'm a mess. But who wouldn't be? Final update. Here's the last chapter of this chaos, for now. It's unbelievable how far it went. After her letter from the hospital claiming she was dying and begging me to visit, I agonized for 2 days. Ethan suggested it might be a final manipulation, but I worried I'd regret not going. Another text came, "Please, I'm scared, come soon." I agreed to go that afternoon. We drove to the hospital, a grim place with faded walls and a blaring TV. I brought her medical envelope just in case. The desk barely checked it before letting us up. Ethan stayed close, saying he'd wait in the hall if needed. I wanted him with me. She was in her room, frail in a hospital gown, hooked to an IV. She looked tiny, pale, and for a moment, I almost pitied her. She cried when she saw me, quiet, desperate tears, saying she thought I'd never come, that she had so much to say. She apologized, blaming her illness, Otis, her failures as a mom. Ethan stood by the door, watching her warily. She asked for a moment alone. I hesitated but agreed. Ethan gave me a look, "Text if you need me," and stepped out. Alone, she talked about her cancer, her exhaustion, her loneliness. She said she had no one, that her only wish was to see her grandchild, to know she'd done something worthwhile. She said she forgave me for leaving, for hating her. I stood there, arms crossed, silent. My silence seemed to frustrate her. Her tone shifted. She said I must be thrilled with my perfect life, that I'd always had it easy, that I didn't understand her struggles. She blamed me for Otis staying, for her ruined youth, for her health. She said she was only 18 when she had me, that she never wanted a child, that I broke her life. I told her I was done blaming myself for her choices. I might never forgive her, but I wouldn't let her ruin me anymore. I said I was sorry for her suffering, but not for leaving or protecting my child. She cried, reaching for me. I stepped back. She begged for a touch, a chance to see the baby. I refused. I left her medical papers on the table and walked out. Ethan was waiting. We left in silence. In the car, he said he was proud of me. I cried, not for her, but for the years I spent chasing her love, hoping she'd change. Days later, my water broke early. Panic hit. Ethan scrambled for the half-packed hospital bag, and we rushed to the hospital. My mother-in-law met us there. Amid labor, a nurse said a woman claiming to be my mom was at the desk. I laughed. It was absurd. Ethan stormed out, barring her entry. My mother-in-law backed him up. Security removed her as she screamed about her grandchild, her illness, my cruelty. Our daughter was born, tiny, perfect, fierce. Holding her, I knew I was breaking the cycle, building something new. Since then, silence. No letters, no calls, no appearances. The restraining order holds. I kept her last letter in a drawer, not to read, but as a reminder of what I overcame. Ethan and I are navigating parenthood, stronger despite the stress. Our daughter has his eyes, my stubbornness. I'm not my mother. I'm the parent I needed. Closure may never come, but I'm at peace. My family is here, in this messy apartment with its laundry piles and funky fridge. Her story isn't mine to carry. I'm writing my own, one day at a time.